thank you. And joining us now to detail how the two tense hostage situations in France came to an end earlier today are former FBI Deputy Assistant Director Danny Coulson and Director of Jihad Watch Robert Spencer. In terms of the operation, Danny, let's just talk about this simultaneous. What were your thoughts on that?
I think they did a good job, Sean. I've trained with those guys. That's GIGN. They helped me start the FBI's hostage rescue team. I've done jobs with them, and they're very, very competent. They have a lot of experience. If you remember, many years ago, Al-Qaeda tried to fly an Air France plane into the Eiffel Tower, and they took them down. So you have to give a lot of kudos to them. I can't say the same thing for the police on the street the day of the shooting. They didn't seem to respond very well, but their CT unit did.
Yeah, let me turn to you if I can, because I think this is really important, Robert Spencer, because, listen, you are all over the issue of jihad. And after every one of these instances occur, everybody says, how could this have happened? You know, everything that I've been learning about not only France, but Europe in general, tells me, and I'm not trying to be callous here, that a lot of signs were missed. Just like with the 9/11 Commission report, they were at war with us. We weren't at war with them. Explain how Islamists have like a separate society. Muslims have a separate society from the rest of France.
Absolutely, Sean. Look, the Muslim immigrants in France and all over Europe are unprecedented. There has never been in the history of the world before large-scale immigration of a people from one place to another with a ready-made model of society and governance that they consider to be superior to the model of the place to which they are coming. They have no interest in integration, no interest in assimilation. All they want to do is Islamize and transform the society that they're coming to. So in France, they have set up, the French government lists on a public website 751 no-go areas where essentially the police have no authority, the French state has no authority, and Islamic law prevails. These places are incubators.
It almost reminds me of it's sort of like Israel. They're allowing themselves to be surrounded. Now you say, why then, if they don't want to assimilate to Western culture, which their value system is the antithesis, it's freedom of speech and expression and religion, etc. If they don't want to assimilate to that, why do they even go there? Is it because they want? Is this part of a desire for worldwide domination in this caliphate?
Sean, it is. I mean,
that's what they want.
Emigration is a core Islamic principle. The idea of the hijra, the flight from Mecca to Medina, where Muhammad for the first time became a political, military, and as well as a spiritual leader, and began to conquer Arabia from there. That sanctified in Islam the idea of emigrating to a new place to conquer and Islamize it, and that's exactly what we're seeing.
So the idea is, for those that are radical Islamists, they want to integrate this worldwide, so they move to other areas, and rather than assimilate, their goal is to indoctrinate and proselytize, and if necessary, through force change.
Absolutely. They set up these Sharia enclaves, and then because their birth rate is so much higher than that of the non-Muslim population, those enclaves will inevitably grow and continue to grow until finally that's all there is.
Danny Coulson, from a law enforcement standpoint, as a former FBI Deputy Assistant Director, do you agree with that assessment? And if that's true, how does the Western world stop that?
Well, I think that's about the best assessment I've ever heard of the problem. That was a great job. Well, what you've done there is you've allowed a lot of cancer to come inside your country. It's almost like the Vietnam term, they're inside the wire. That's where you don't want them. And it greatly inhibits law enforcement to conduct investigations there. If you can't go there, how do you investigate terrorism? You can't do it. I think it's a bad situation, and it seems like it's about time to me that France took their country back. I can't even imagine having a force inside your country that you do not control. That's just...
All right, so wait a minute. So if France has 6.5 million Muslims, 10% of the population, estimates vary a little bit, a million here or there, okay, you say take back a country. What does that mean? That either you allow us into these areas, you allow our police in, you don't have non-Muslim zones where non-Muslims aren't allowed, or no-go zones? You're saying that all of a sudden they're going to change that? What's going to happen if they try to?
I don't think they're going to change it all of a sudden, but I think they cannot let it extend. Sean, we're in a war. And we have to fight a war like it's a war. And if we have the enemy inside the gates, I think you address it through law enforcement, through the military, whatever it takes to get your country back. I can't even imagine a situation like that and how difficult it would be to control your country. And sooner or later, they're going to lose control of it.
751 no-go zones. What are we going to go in all of a sudden and then say, I'm sorry, we're policing now? Well, and here's the question. Is this happening in the United States?
Yes, it is. It's on a much smaller scale, of course, in
Explain.
the United States, because the Muslim population of the United States is much smaller.
We have no-go zones in the United States?
Well, you know, in the United States, you have those camps way out in the country. At least 35 have been documented, where they are essentially like those no-go zones, but they're not in urban areas and in concentrated places.
What are you talking about specifically?
I'm talking about places. I'm sorry?
Areas of Michigan?
Yeah, sure, Michigan, but I'm talking about rural areas, New York, Georgia, South Carolina, California, places that are way out and remote. You have these Islamic enclaves where the same kind of situation prevails. There was some disturbances at some of them in Texas not last year, and the police showed the same hesitation about going in that they show in France.
All right, guys, thank you both. Appreciate it.